Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the weekend in 20th of June 2026. Scottish footy fans overjoyed. Russian ship ahoy. Putin's ploy is to deploy boats and stooges to annoy, or is he just paranoid with his refineries being destroyed? Burnham might be the real McCoy, but he remains coy about where he'll be employed, while stubborn Starmer is very annoyed. The Islamabad Memorandum brings joy. A UK social media ban coming for every girl and boy. Let's kick off the week with news not so weighty. Scotland's first World Cup final win this century versus Haiti. Away from the Tartan Army getting delirious, the headlines home and abroad were more serious. On Sunday in the Channel, our Royal Marines seized a Russian tanker in dramatic scenes. An operation in international waters to foil Putin's shadow fleet from transporting sanctioned oil. On Tuesday, Jane and Alan Kelvey, a British couple, found themselves in unexpected trouble. Sailing their yacht in the Channel, they somehow ended up with warning shots across their bow. Was the Admiral Grigorovich a Russian frigate sending a message from the Kremlin midget? Is it mission creep or a sign of a creep's lack of sleep caused by Ukraine's nightly strikes, frequent and deep? On Friday, our courts put two Putin pawns away who'd been involved in malign acts in the UK. Firebombs and arson attacks at or near to property and a vehicle linked to Sakir. At the G7 summit this week in eastern France, Trump changed sides and said Ukraine had a chance. Big Don can't stand losers and is maybe beginning to have a hunch that Ukraine could end up winning. On Wednesday, there was relief around the world as the Islamabad Memorandum was unfurled. The US and Iran, with help from Pakistan, had finally come up with a cunning plan. Trump signed the deal and said, "Let the oil flow." Brent crude immediately dropped to a 4-month low. But all of Trump's detractors, bar none, say all he's done is get back to square one. This is just a memorandum of understanding. With an understanding, there'll be an expanding of the current ceasefire for another 60 days, 2 months for a firm deal to be put in place, during which time the Strait of Hormuz will once more operate as it used to before the war, so commercial shipping can go through toll-free and US port blockades will be lifted totally. Otherwise, Trump's purpose for this escapade, mainly regime change and no nukes being made, have just 60 days to be agreed and signed, or the whole process will once again rewind. In Brussels on Thursday, Pete Hegseth had a go at the perceived unhelpfulness of NATO. The US Defense Secretary had a big moan about the US being left to solve Iran on its own. When in February they went in with their wrecking ball, they had expected NATO to be at its beck and call. When NATO failed to play ball and started to stall, it hadn't impressed Mr. Hegseth at all. A clumsy, not very veiled threat being put of what to expect when the shoe's on the other foot. Words of defiance that show no grasp or appliance of the concept that NATO's a defensive alliance. The social media pushback has reached critical mass. You just have to look at the critical maths. 9 out of 10 parents now in the UK want their children to have it taken away. 60% of kids want some sort of restriction, and there's clinical evidence it causes addiction. So on Monday, Sir Keir announced a ban coming here, his legacy legislation to come in next year. Australia was the first country to take the leap to unsow the seeds that the tech bros have reaped by banning under 16s from most platforms, so a social media free life will be the new norm. But 70% by all accounts are still on social media, fake IDs, VPNs, it couldn't be easier. But then again, with cold turkey, patience is a virtue. Peer pressure of those absent will in the end win through. On Thursday, a by-election took the news focus, while two in Scotland almost passed without notice. It's 59 years since the Scottish Tories last beat an incumbent to gain a by-election seat. Yes, back to when the Beatles were still at their peak, right up to the Aberdeen South by-election this week. The election was really all about one policy, to drill or not to drill in the North Sea. And it would seem the people of Aberdeen preferred jobs and security than going green. A bit further south, Tories were behind SNP, which held Arbroath and Broughty Ferry easily. Reform UK were third and Labour fourth in both the by-elections in Aberdeen and Arbroath. A true giant of the Labour movement, Roy Hattersley, on Sunday died at the age of 93, a conviction socialist of the 70s and 80s when politics was less transient than it has been lately. In the next few weeks it could well be the case. Number 10's 7th tenant in 10 years is in place, because Burnham's by-election win in Makerfield means Sir Keir's fate is one step closer to being sealed. Starmer, through gritted teeth, congratulated Andy, called him an asset as if he might come in handy. And Andy had really knocked and bandy, meaning for Keir things are not fine and dandy. Keir stated that if a leadership race is agreed, he was going to contest and not concede. He had a 5-year mandate from the population. He was not going to turn his back on the nation. He was certainly not resigned to resignation.